The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to the Friday Rugby Preview, looking at the Borders clubs in action tomorrow. Robin Purdy with me again, and as usual, let's begin with a look back at last weekend in the Premiership. First of all, Currie 33, Kelso 14. It was 19-0 to Currie very, very quickly. Then Kelso came back. Currie scored another couple of late tries in the match, so it was one that got away, I think, for Kelso.
Yeah, I said last week, Stuart, I think Kelso will be targeting other games in the run-in. It was an absolute free hit, to be honest. Melbourne wasn't available, Paterson wasn't available. So yeah, I think on the face of it, that doesn't represent that bad a scoreline at 33 points to 14, to be honest, with other fish to fry. And yeah, Currie keep marching on there, obviously in the shake-up for that fourth place, and they got what they needed out the game, and Kelso move on to what is a much more winnable game this weekend.
Accies 12, Marr 15, results which may just keep Marr in the race for survival, but Accies just getting 1 point from this one at home. They won't be happy with that.
No, I think they'll be most unhappy with that, Stuart, to be honest. Great win for Marr. First of all, in this division at least, I think that's the result of the weekend. Definitely they needed that, or else it was curtains, and they've given themselves a lifeline. And yeah, I said it was must win last weekend for both these teams, and for Accies, yeah, that's a real dent to their ambitions of staying up. It looks a long way back for them now as well.
Of course, Marr have that 2 games in hand, don't they? Which, as I say, we always prefer to have points in the bank. But, they'll be looking at that now after the Accies match and thinking, well, hang on, if we win our next one, suddenly we're above Accies and we're not far away from Kelso.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I mean, you look at their next 3 games, Stuart. Melrose away. Not easy, of course, but given Melrose's current form, let's be honest, it is winnable for Marr. Musselburgh away, which of course is winnable, and then Accies at home. So there's points there in those next 3 games, but first and foremost, they've put themselves back in the shake-up with that victory at Accies. Absolutely.
The big match, of course, was the top of the table clash, long awaited. Heriot's 19, Ayr 26. Ayr cruising at one point, but Heriot's, as they did against Watsonians, almost came back on terms to get more than just the 1 point out of that one.
Yeah, they looked dead and buried. Heriot's at 1 point in the first half, and brilliant win, first of all, for Ayr. They would have liked for Heriot's to get nothing from the game, given the position that Ayr were in, as you mentioned, in the first half. But to go to Heriot's and come away with 5 points, I mean, that is absolutely the mark of a champion team. Heriot's gutsy enough to come away with a point. Does the point make that much difference? Given that they have got to go, they're 5 points behind there, they've got to go to Melrose in a few weeks. It doesn't, because the points difference is just too high. I mean, they'll need to run up some absolute cricket scores, Heriot's, to have any sort of chance now of leapfrogging Ayr into that first place and just about nigh on guarantee a home final, let alone a home semi. Brilliant win for Ayr in what was an absolute crunch match.
Musselburgh 38, Selkirk 55, 93 points in that one. Musselburgh just don't give up. I'm not actually surprised at that scoreline, I have to say, because Musselburgh in the past have always been capable of scoring plenty of tries, and Selkirk had to score, I think it was something like 8 tries in the end that they got to get the 55 points, but they had to keep scoring to keep Musselburgh at bay.
Yeah, seems to have been the case. Selkirk done what they absolutely needed to do from that game, and that's take 5 points from the fixture. They won't be that happy at conceding 38, but I don't suppose it matters, Stuart, to be honest. They got the 5 points and they're back down the road for their massive game this weekend. And yeah, Musselburgh, as gutsy as ever, they've obviously came away with a point. It's not going to be enough, I'm afraid.
No big surprise at Marr side. Watsonians 26, Glasgow Hawks 10 went to form there.
Yeah, I think so. We said in the preview show last week that it was hard to see Hawks coming away with anything. Hawks have been better than I expected, or more competitive than I expected them to be this season, but it was never going to be easy going to an ex-Super Series team. And yeah, Watsonians they're in a bit decent form at the moment. They're not, as the table goes, in the same league this season as Ayr or Heriot's, but you get into the playoffs, you don't go to Melrose in the semi-final, and you just never know.
Hawick 36, Melrose 17, a game of 2 halves there. Good Melrose start, brilliant Hawick finish.
Yeah, I think by all accounts Melrose were 12-3 to the good, playing into what was a pretty strong breeze just shy of half time, and then Hoyt got 7 points just on the stroke of half time, and you'd still have thought with the wind at their backs Melrose would be resounding favourites going down the tunnel. But by all accounts, a brilliant display of into the wind rugby, I'm led to believe, by Hoyt, and what a wonderful victory in the end. Very, comfortable judging by the scoreline, and again they're just hitting a bit of form now, Hoyt, and yeah, Melrose, they're going to be safe, I feel, but yeah, they could do with a win this weekend just to stop the season petering out.
Let's have a look at that table then. Ayr a bit more comfortable at the top now, 86 points. Heriot's 81, Watsonians 66, and Currie 54. Selkirk 52, Hawick 45, Melrose 40, Glasgow Hawks 36, Kelso 35, Accies 29, Marr 24, and Musselburgh 15. So not a great deal of change, certainly at the bottom of the table. Accies got 1 point, Kelso didn't get anything, Marr got a very good 4 points at Edinburgh Accies, and Musselburgh actually got a point, but only 20 points possible, could take them to 35. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not, unfortunately, and as we always say, they'll battle until the fat lady sings, but yeah, the trap door is more than just ajar, unfortunately. And I think Kelso would have been delirious in the changing rooms at Millennium when they heard the score line coming through from Edinburgh Accies v Marr. That's done them a big favour, let's be honest.
Well, there's a match tonight. It's on BBC Alba as well. Musselburgh against Watsonians, under the lights in front of the BBC cameras. Hardly a great deal of interest in a dead rubber. And of course, we've always got, and we've spoken about this a lot, haven't we? Because we apply the same rules to our own broadcast. We try and get the best match possible, even if it means we don't make our minds up until the week before, just to see what's going on. With obviously BBC Alba, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but obviously they choose their matches at the start of the season, and something which looks good on paper 3 or 4 months ago doesn't necessarily turn out that way.
Yeah, welcome to next season. Dead rubbers. There's going to be an awful lot of them next season. This season's been brilliant from the point of view of 3 down in the Premiership and the playoffs and the division below as well. There's jeopardy all over the place, but yeah, unfortunately, from a broadcasting perspective, it is a bit of a dead rubber tonight. But yeah, it's still a good opportunity for players to get that bit of exposure and and be on the TV effectively. It's still a big deal from a playing perspective. So
Musselburgh against Watsonians, is it going to be an away win?
I think so. The oldest cliche in the book, the table doesn't lie, and we're talking about a recent Super Series team against a team that have battled manfully but are cut adrift at the bottom of the table. So yeah, it's hard to see anything other than a Watsonians 5-pointer there tonight, with Musselburgh hopefully coming away with something as well to show for their efforts.
And realistically, Watsonians aren't going to be caught in third place. They're certainly not going to be getting up to the totals of Ayr and Heriot's. Do they start preparing now for playoffs?
It's a good question. I think they'll want to keep momentum, and they'll want to keep rugby in players' legs, so to speak. So yeah, maybe towards the latter stages, a wee bit further down the track. But no, I think they'll be out to maintain that momentum over the next couple of games at least.
Well, tomorrow it's all back to 3 o'clock again. There's enough light in the sky now to get everything finished. So 3 o'clock kickoffs from now on, nothing staggered. And the first one is going to be Ayr against Edinburgh Accies. Edinburgh Accies found it tough against Marr at home. Even tougher, I would suggest, at Milbrae.
Yeah, pray for Accies tomorrow. It doesn't look like they're in that great a place at the moment. They've lost an awful lot of rugby matches of late, arguably against teams that they'd be hoping to beat. So yeah, going down there tomorrow, Ayr might jig a few around. Doesn't really matter, to be honest, given the depth that they've got in their squad. And yeah, sadly for Accies, I can see it being a cricket score tomorrow, if I'm being candidly honest.
And again, obviously, a nice chance for Marr to close that gap on Accies.
Yeah, Marr play Melrose tomorrow. If we spoke about it pre-Christmas, I would have given you long odds on Marr to win at the Green Yards. But looking at what's happened in the meantime, and Marr just appear to have their dander up a wee bit now. Brilliant win last weekend, of course. So yeah, you'd still fancy Melrose at home there, Stuart, but I don't see it being maybe the 25-point margin. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, 25-30 point margin that I might have thought it was at one point. I don't see it being the case tomorrow, and Melrose just need a win.
Well, here's Melrose co-head coach Scott Wight.
Massive game for the club this week, I think, given the situation we're in over the last couple of weeks and not picking up very many points. I think everybody fully understands the kind of task at hand, I dare say, against Marr, who will be coming down to the Green Yards off a great win against Edinburgh and essentially giving themselves a lifeline. So, it's really important, this game, in terms of we've not came back after Christmas with a huge amount of momentum. So, there's a few harsh words said on Tuesday night, just a wee bit of a reality check and just making sure that everybody, the whole club, players, coaches, we know the position we're in. But look, boys they're mad keen for it. They're really looking forward to putting a few wrongs right this Saturday. So we can't wait to get back to home as well. We've got 4 games left. We've got 3 at home as well. So, it's a great way to end the season. And no better way to obviously hopefully start that with beating Marr on Saturday. Selection-wise this week, Zen Swarzak will be back from international duty, so he'll feature, and Ben White also comes back from injury. So Ben White, Zen, 2 props, obviously great addition to have at this time of the season. Backline-wise, Luke Townsend becomes available again, so we need to decide in terms of what we're going to go after with Struan or Luke. The rest of the backline will stay the same. And it's great also this week in terms of added to that, Donald Crawford's back fit, Harry Mikowski's back fit, so they essentially all feature for the 2s this week on Friday night against Gala. So club's in a great position player wise, coming back from injuries and stuff, so it's just important that we back that up with a performance on the pitch that everybody's gunning for.
Well, Melrose on that losing streak at the moment. That wouldn't have gone unnoticed by Marr. But Melrose haven't really clicked since that Currie game when they put 40 points on Currie and shocked everybody.
Yeah, that's right. And for reasons unknown, certainly from the outside looking in, Alan Ferry's back. He's been an absolute fire. We've spoken about that, and they've still got plenty of injuries. Long-standing injuries for a lot of players, like Ben McLean and some others are unavailable at the moment. But yeah, Zen coming back, that's a major fillip. He's been in really good form this season for Melrose since he made the move. And Ben White as well, we've not seen much of him because of injury, but what we did see of him early in the season, it looked pretty impressive. So that's a major boost, and that will help the cause in no end tomorrow against the Marr team that you'd imagine will come over massively fired up. So yeah, Melrose still to win, I feel. It would be a big shock if they didn't, but Marr are not coming across dead and buried now to make up the numbers. They will be going all guns blazing, and we seen how they got tore into air a couple of weeks ago, and I'm guessing therefore they got tore into Edinburgh Accies in a similar manner. So that they'll be coming to make a statement for sure. And yeah, as an aside, great to hear Don Crawford back, potentially going to get a bit of a run out in the 2s final.
And all being well, he'll be working for us tomorrow, covering that game for us on Rugby Radio. More on that a little bit later on, but Glasgow Hawks are playing Heriot tomorrow. Hawks only 1 point ahead of Kelso, but they've got this game in hand, and to be fair, it's going to be harder for Hawks to get anything out of this game than it will be for Kelso.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's highly unlikely that they're going to get anything tomorrow by virtue of the fact they're playing Heriots, and nobody, potentially bar Ayr, is going to get much change out of Heriots. Hawks have a tough running. I've been studying that in a wee bit more detail. They've got Heriots tomorrow at home, then Currie away, then Watsonians at home, Kelso away and Selkirk at home. So there are points there, but you feel that there are not that many. They've got that game in hand. I think they'll be okay. Hawks, I think they'll be okay, but they have got a very tough run in, and it starts tomorrow, and I fancy Heriots for 5 points there.
Border Derby then, lots to talk about here, but let's listen to what both camps have to say about this one. Hawick head coach Graeme Hogg, and first, Kelso Director of Rugby, Neil Hinnigan.
Back to Poinder Park this week to play Hawick. Big match. Another big lunch, big crowd expected, so should be a enjoyable afternoon for all spectators. But it's a one that we need to try and get the points from due to our league position. We're under a bit of pressure at the moment with Marr and Accies and Hawks all around us are very, very close to us, and we need to try and get away from that as quickly as possible. There's 4 games to go, 3 at home, so we need to really get 2-3 wins in there to make sure that we stay in this league. Team-wise, bit of a struggle, a few injuries last week, and obviously, Jack Utterson's been away training with the 18s, Melbourne still missing. There's 1 or 2 others that we're going to have to wait on to see whether they'll make it or not. It could be some late fitness tests, so There's a few holes there, but listen, we've got a fairly decent depth of squad, so we just have to patch in where we can, and whatever 15 starts on Saturday, I'll be up for this one against Hawick, which, you know, every border derby, it's normally easy to get up for because of the nature of it. So we're excited, but at the same time, you know, a little bit nervous as well. So we've got to get things right in the first 20. Last week against Currie, that was our downfall. We weren't really off the bus quick enough, and the game was kind of gone in the first 20 minutes, and by the time we got back into it, we'd exerted so much energy to do that. The last 20 we fell away again. So hopefully this week we go off to a better start, and then see what happens.
Another week, another border derby, and we're looking forward to playing Kelso at the weekend. Looking back to Melrose last week at home, it was certainly a tale of two halves. We were bitterly disappointed with how we performed that first 40 minutes with the elements. Our kicking game and our kick chase game was not up to the standard that these boys set, but we certainly put that right second half. Our ball retention in that second 40 minutes and just how simple we played stuck to task in terms of our game plan, and we got the rewards for that, scoring 4 tries in that second half, and ultimately coming away with 5 tries and a bonus point win was certainly pleasing in the end. And this week it's going to be a different type of challenge, heading to Poynter Park. It's a place where we've had a little bit of success over the last few seasons, but they've certainly not came easy. The games have always been difficult against Kelso down at Poynter, and I'm sure this week will be no different.
So that's Graeme Hogg, head coach of Hawick, and before that, director of rugby at Kelso, Neil Hinnigan. So the good news, whatever happens, the Bill McLaren Shield is going to stay in the borders. If it's Kelso that wins, they actually get their name engraved on it for the very first time, which is obviously a nice byproduct of a win, but it's the 5 points that they want.
Oh, definitely. The 4 or the 5 points tomorrow are absolutely everything. From a Kelso perspective, what a ding dong! It's going to be 2 evenly matched squads-ish. Hawick potentially on their day, everybody being fit, maybe a slightly stronger squad. You know, they've been champions in the last couple of years, of course, but they're missing a few. They're a bit threadbare at the moment, and that's what makes the recent run all the more impressive. The Poynter factor is definitely a thing. It will be raucous again there tomorrow, which is brilliant. Like I say, what an occasion it's going to be.
No Keith Melbourne though.
Yes, having just had that brought to my attention, that's a major blow in a game like this. That, you know, the Paterson thing. My feelings on that are no, I think that's ridiculous. But Melbourne being out, that's a massive blow. He is a big old unit, and he's able to, to compete physically with the Sean Muirs and the wrecking ball on current form that is Sutherland, etc. So yeah, it's a tough one to call that for me, Stuart. I think it'll be a tight victory for whoever comes through it, with the other team picking up at least 1 point. But yeah, very, very tough to call. But yeah, I think if Kelso win that tomorrow, they're in a good place. But Hawick could quite easily come down and pick up the spoils as well.
And of course, Kelso haven't beaten Hawick, we think, since about 2012, 2013. If that, I've been going back the years. Obviously, they weren't in the same league for quite a number of years. They played the odd border league match, but I haven't been able to come across the last time Kelso actually beat Hawick. And we're having a chat with Neil Hinnigan about that, and he can't remember it happening either.
No, nor can I. They've been in, until the last year or two, they've been in very different places at times. But yeah, it's as good a chance in many moons that Kelso will have tomorrow to beat Hawick. But yeah, like I say, Hawick are not coming down there to make up the numbers, and they're just in a wee bit of good form at the moment. And yeah, fixture wise, a win tomorrow would do Hawick no harm at all. They've got Ayr coming down the track, and Kelso, of course, away to Heriot in their next game. So yeah, you could do a decent haul of points tomorrow as well.
Well, David Ferguson will be there for us tomorrow at Poynter Park. It's going to be a good one. But I would say just eclipsing that one is the match of the day tomorrow between Selkirk and Currie. It has to be, because it's Selkirk now in 5th, Currie in 4th. 2 teams battling it out for that 4th promotion spot, and just 2 points separating them. Let's hear from Selkirk head coach Sesh Henderson.
After last week's game at Musselburgh, when we did get our attack flow in, we scored some really good tries, coming away with over 9 tries. It's quite pleasing, but we're just disappointed how we allowed them into the game, and we just took a foothold at it and kept our tries ticking over. But it's a pretty good game to be involved in. heading into this week's game against Currie, because it's another tough game. It's an opportunity to potentially get back into a playoff position. But what I've said to the players is put that to your back of your mind just now and just think of the 80-minute performance that we need to put in to beat a top side. We haven't beaten Currie in the last 3 times, so the guys are just excited to get onto Saturday and give it them best for 80 minutes. And we've just got to make sure that when we attack with fluency and with pace and tempo. We know we've got backs. If they're on the front foot, we can damage any team in the league. Similar bit in defence, so we need to make sure that we apply as much pressure we can and make our first up tackles, let them make the errors, and then just see what we get out of the game. But we've set ourselves up for this game. We've got to put everything into it. Team-wise, Ross Nixon will come in at 12. Apart from that, the backline will stay the same, and hope to have Dylan Brunlin back for this week. Slowly getting injured players back. Okay, but 2-3 weeks yet for Andrew McComb and for Liam Cassidy, but we've got that little bit of strength and depth, so hopefully we'll put our strongest team out as we can to make sure that we can compete with Currie for the 80 minutes. And let's we're looking forward to it, and looking forward to Robin being there as well for Robbie sort of good luck mascot.
No, I wasn't going to mention it this week, but as he has brought it up, Selkirk 6 out of 6 for you this season.
7
out of 7.
Out of 7,
gosh, yes, even better. So can it be 8 out of 8?
It can. It won't be easy. This is the hardest opposition that I've seen Selkirk confront this season, and for me, Stuart, for Selkirk, if I'm being candidly honest, looking at the 2 run-ins of the teams and considering the battle for this 4th place, this playoff place, I think it's must win for Selkirk tomorrow, given what's coming down the track, and they could do without Currie getting all that much from the game as well. Selkirk still got to go to Watsonians, still got to go to Ayr, got to go to Glasgow Hawks. Currie, they've got Hawks at home, then Kelso and Marr away, so that there's different levels of competition there in the running for them both. So it's going to be an absolute ding dong there tomorrow. If you'd said to me at the start of the season that you would get into this juncture and Selkirk and Currie would be almost in some kind of vying, almost a playoff for 4th spot, I would have laughed. To be honest, I said, Currie will come 4th this season. For me, that was never in doubt. But for Selkirk to even be in the discussions, I think it's a remarkable achievement, and if they can get a win tomorrow, then they are right in the mix of it. Brunland, if he can find himself getting any minutes, that's a major boost given that McComb is going to be out. But Currie, we know Currie have got some top operators. They have got the 3rd or 4th best squad in the league. For me, the likes of Hadsall came in, Robeson came in to complement the DG Innises, etc. They've got a lot of depth in their squad there. I think their 2s are going to win the 2s league more or less, or on the cusp of it anyway. So it's going to be a brilliant ding dong Philip Haw tomorrow, and I can't wait to be there to see it.
Well, that's our featured commentary game tomorrow, on air at 2:30 all the way through to 5:30, and you'll be joined by, for the first time this season, Scott Tomlinson. Be good to see him once again. Let's have a look at National 1 then, go over the results. The big one, of course, Boroughmuir 43, Peebles 27. Muir end the season with 4 home games, as I mentioned earlier, and they took full advantage of that. Their survival is now in their own hands. A draw will secure their National 1 status against Biggar tomorrow, but fair play to them, they've delivered handsomely at Peebles' expense.
They've come with a charge at the right time of the season. They've hit their straps, and it's unfortunate for Peebles. It sounds like for a period of that game they were right in the shake-up, but all credit to Boroughmuir. You have to say that's a brilliant win at a time when they needed it most, and you're right, their destiny's in their own hands now, and I can see them getting over the line tomorrow.
Dundee 15, Highland 43, 5 points as expected for Highland, but obviously out of their hands now.
Yeah, it is out of their hands, and what we'd hoped would have been almost a straight shootout at Canal Park tomorrow. What an end to the season that would have been. Has got a wee bit of a feel of a damp squib about it. Not quite a damp squib, but you know what I mean. It's out of their hands now, and it's the winner there could be huddled round the radio to hear what's happening at Boroughmuir, but I think Boroughmuir will get it over the line.
Yet another bonus point for Stirling, but not enough to win at Hartree Mill. That means GHA are promoted, so many congratulations to them. They didn't play last week, so they've won the league without throwing a shot in anger.
Yeah, it's a wee bit of a shame that. Almost it reminds me of Leicester in the Premiership when they were all huddled in Jamie Vardy's kitchen to see Spurs upset the apple cart against Chelsea, I think it was. But no, remarkable, wonderful achievement by GHA, unbeaten thus far this season. Let's not forget that's a brilliant season. Congratulations to them. Unfortunate for Stirling, you'd have got very, very, very off the board short odds on them to be champions at the start of the season, and they've not managed to get it over the line. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, let's not forget Biggar, the part they played in all of this. That's a brilliant win against Stirling, and Biggar have been a comfortable mid-table, never really in any doubt team this season. And at the start of the season, most of the clubs, other than what you'd consider the top three, would have bitten your hand off for that. So it's a fair play to them, and that result alone will give them a great deal of confidence going forward.
And a look at that National 1 table then. GHA champions at the top with 80, Stirling County 73, Glasgow Accies with 60. They had 5 points docked, of course, otherwise it would have been 65, but a comfortable third for them. Biggar now in fourth place with 46. They had a point docked as well, could have been 47. Gala 42, Jed-Forest 42, Boroughmuir 38, Highland 35, Peebles 34, and Dundee relegated, of course, with just the 11 points this season. And so to this week's matches, and Boroughmuir against Biggar tops the bill. Boroughmuir need 2 points to secure safety and put Peebles and Highland down. It would also mean Gordonians by default will become the top team in the area, as they are already promoted from National 2. More of that in a second. But Biggar, no pushover. They'll want to stay above Jed and Gala in the final standing, and a chance, of course, to help their arch enemies Peebles.
You've taken the words right out of my mouth. Are we hoping that, are we pinging our hopes on Biggar to do Peebles a favour?
I know. Well, it's whether they want Derby next season.
I think they will, of course. But yeah, it's in Boroughmuir's hands there, and we've spoken before. They've got the likes of Edmonds in the ranks. He's an absolute wrecking ball at this level, and Biggar, of course, safe now. I can see Boroughmuir getting over the line. As I said, Stuart, I think they'll win that game tomorrow. I don't think Biggar are going to be a pushover, of course, and it wouldn't surprise me still if Biggar came away with a narrow victory. But I think with everything that's on the line, I think Boroughmuir will have enough to come through it.
Yeah, Hugh Brown will be down there for the second week running in that game, and obviously that will help us to bring you the very best coverage tomorrow, and we'll more or less do what they do on Sky Sports and stuff and give you the latest standings on the table. And will Boroughmuir get over the line, or will we have a shock as we had in a couple of years ago when National 2, I think it was, 3 teams going for it, and it was the outsider that needed 34 points to win. They got 35. That was Glasgow Accies.
Glasgow Accies, yeah, that was some achievement. What excitement in that division on that day. I remember it. But yeah, it could if Biggar get a couple of early scores and the pressure comes on for Boroughmuir, then yeah, it could have a different outlook. And yes, it'll be good to keep tabs on just how that all pans out tomorrow afternoon.
Gala versus Glasgow Accies, final National 1 game of the season for Gala at home to third place Glasgow Accies. Here's head coach at Gala, Ewen Robbie.
The last game against GHA, we knew it was going to be a challenge. We probably didn't do ourselves enough justice in the first half. They are a good side. We knew their set piece is good, and they will throw the ball around, and they're at the top. They're promoted now, and that's for a reason. They're a good side. I'm still quite pleased with how we are doing as a group. There's a lot of young guys in there. The second half, we really did knuckle down. We actually won the second half, and a lot of guys put in a good hard shift. We just had to start a bit quicker and get that attitude in the first half. Physicality, the pace, and all that. We had to get that going in the first half to. You need to do that if you're going to challenge a team that's at the top of the league. And we probably didn't get the whole thing right until we had a chat at half time, and then the second half was a totally different story. But no, pleasing second half. We could have done better in the first half against GHA. But congratulations to them. They've had a really good season. On to this week for us. We're now down at playing third place. We've just got a couple of places above us, Glasgow Accies. We certainly know from them that the game up there, they can score tries. They scored quite a few against us up there, so we have worked hard in defence this week. We've got to look to put pressure on them, pressure on our skills. We've worked hard in line speed this week. It's a challenge, it's a home. We've got to look forward to it. We've got to be aggressive, we've got to get in amongst it and just show supporters what the players feel playing for the jersey, etc., as well as sticking to the game plan that we're going to try and use against them. I think we have Tim McCavanagh coming back into the fold, pretty similar squad. We didn't pick up any injuries against GHA. We will finalise that squad. It'll be out, but Tim will come back into the squad for us. That'll be a good, Tim's a big physical player, so that'll help us with some ball carries, etc. I'm expecting a tough game. They do throw it about, as I've said, but they've got some good players. They've got a bit of physicality again. Their set piece is pretty good, but we've just got to make sure we put an 80-minute performance in against them, like very similar to how we usually play at home in the second half that we played against GHA. Where we've got to this season so far is pretty satisfied with it because of the fact that it is a very, very young squad. There's currently, week to week now, there's 2 to 3 loans players from last season in the first team squad, which is good for the future. That mix of where we are just now, you've got to be realistic about squad sizes, what squads you've got at your disposal. You've got the amateur kind of era now with the guys have things on. It's just something you've got to accept as a coach. And the boys have done really well. I'm really hoping for their sakes that we finish it off with a win on Saturday, and we'll be going 100% for that win.
And we'll echo that as well, because Gala in 5th place at the moment could possibly be 4th at the end of the season with that young squad, done remarkably well, and they've never really been in danger.
No, I was going to say, Stuart, Ewen said he's satisfied there, and he's got every right to be, in my opinion. They have had Wands boys that have come through, and you're right, they've never, to my mind at least, been in any danger this season. And as I mentioned before, the Biggars, the Jeds, the Galas, I think that's a great achievement given the makeup of this division this season. This season, stay in this division at all costs, let's be honest, unless you're a Stirling or a GHA or a Glasgow Accies potentially, and they've done that with room to spare. Gala, while being able to bring a few young boys through, and yeah, I think they're in a pretty good place right now, and their under 18s this season have gone really well. So yeah, maintaining their position in the division and being able to maybe bring more youngsters through coming up from the Wands, pretty good place to be all in.
GHA against Dundee, so it's top against bottom. Dundee already relegated, GHA already champions. It's actually GHA's 500th game ever in their history, so there's going to be some celebration there.
Wow.
But can Dundee go in there and spoil the party?
I don't know who we're praying more for tomorrow, Edinburgh Accies or Dundee. I don't mean that, I mean that with a degree of humour. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but yeah, it's top versus bottom, and as you say, it's a party atmosphere there tomorrow. And unless the GHA players have been on the lash all week without having to play last weekend, then can't see anything else other than 5 points to round off what has been an absolutely incredible season for GHA. They will go unbeaten, and I think in this division, with Stirling being in there and Glasgow Accies and the level of desperation that some of the other teams have had given the relegation side of things, then a remarkable achievement, all credit to them.
Because they were in the Premiership a few years ago, and it's always hard to get back in again.
Oh, absolutely it is, and it's going to be harder or as hard next season as well. And I think with GHA as well, I research a lot of teams from a commentary perspective, and been looking a bit at Ayr recently, and you look at who players have played for before they went to the Bulls. There's 2 or 3 GHA guys in there, off the top of my head, Chris Hyde and Bardelli and Andy Stirrat, and will those guys potentially fancy going back to GHA next season now that they're going to be back in the Premiership? And I think they'll add something to the Premiership next season, and given it's one down, they're not going to be coming up to make up the numbers, and there's going to be some teams in the Premiership next season that, there's going to be jeopardy there as well, unless somebody gets cut adrift at the bottom, which I can't really see happening to GHA at least. Like I say, fair play to them.
And many congratulations to Callum Forrester and his team for doing a great job in getting GHA back to where they belong in the Premiership. Now, Highland against Peebles. My goodness me, if Boroughmuir do slip up tomorrow, all eyes will be on this match. Boroughmuir 38, Highland 35, Peebles 34. As I say, we'll be right across both games tomorrow, giving you league positions as the games play out in real time. It'll certainly be exciting, but what does Peebles head coach Graeme Paterson make of it all?
Last weekend's game against Boroughmuir up at Megaland was obviously a disappointing result, clearly for us, in terms of losing the game and getting nothing out of it, giving one of our closest rivals in our fight to stave off relegation, giving them an opportunity to jump over us. Yeah, in reflection on the game, we really did have some good opportunities there. We had a fair bit of possession and territory, and really just didn't hammer that home. And there was just a kind of reflection that we just weren't quite at the levels, maybe mentally, which transferred into some sort of areas, physically and tactically, from the Glasgow Accies game. So the boys and ourselves are really disappointed. It's just a real setback for us in terms of our process of going through this season. But we've got to look ahead and got to stay as positive as we possibly can be for the next game, the next challenge against Highland on Saturday. So all is not lost. It's made a lot more difficult, but we will go into that game looking to do as much as we possibly can, and give ourselves hope that come the end of the games on Saturday that we're sitting in that position that keeps us in National 1. Some of the things that didn't function well, a bit of line out in key moments, just didn't go at hand, and that transferred into sort of lack of opportunities to hammer home our good position that we got into. They were pretty physical after a good start from us. First sort of 10-15 minutes was really positive. Felt we took the game really to them, and we kicked 2 penalties, got ourselves in a sort of comfortable slot. But then they reacted pretty well, to be fair, and they became the physical side in terms of collisions and dominance in that sort of area. They had a very good function in line out as well, which gave them good opportunities to launch their attacks. A fair bit of kicking for them as well, which was unusual. But they took their opportunities well. They used their threats well. We just clung on there as much as we could. We got ourselves back into the game by getting that penalty try just before half time, and I thought that's our chance to get back into this wrestle for that win. Unfortunately, didn't quite pan out like that, as we know, but we fought. We really did. I felt that the guys really did put a lot of effort into that. It just came up short. A couple of uncharacteristic errors from some of our guys, which we haven't seen before. We've got to put it to bed now and just focus on the last game of the season up at Highland. Looking ahead to that one, it is a massive game, but we've just got to focus in isolation on that game and just do what we can do, and not worry about what is happening in other games, and what will be. Our job is to go out there, win the game first and foremost, try and get a bonus point as well for the 4 tries, and then see what falls out the tree from there, from the other games. In terms of our selection, there's a couple of disruptions in there with unavailabilities. Ross Brown won't be available, and he'll be a big loss in terms of his experiences, the way he plays, and Ewen Hunter at number 8. Who's performed very well over the season. He's unfortunately away on holiday this week, so therefore he's unavailable as well. So we'll reshuffle the pack a wee bit. In terms of second rows, we'll be starting. Jace Coltman will come in and start, and partner Cammy Pye, and we're just working on a couple of kind of late decisions round about the makeup of the back row. In terms of our back line, Jack Harrison will move to 9, and James Hodgkiss will come back into the starting line-up at 10, and the rest of the backs will remain unchanged. So fairly settled. A couple of changes in there, but we go out there and trust those guys to deliver the points that hopefully will just see our noses in front of both Highland and Boroughmuir as well.
So Peebles have gone from having it in their own hands last week to being the outsiders now. It's amazing what 1 week can do in rugby.
Oh, it is, Stuart, and both Peebles and Highland tomorrow will have to just duke it out, try as well as they can to get 5 points. I think for Peebles to have a chance, they need to get all 5 tomorrow, and hope that Boroughmuir get beat without a couple of bonus points potentially. So all they can do, as I said before, Peebles and Highland, is just control what they can control, win a game of rugby, and hope that Biggar do them both a favour. But I think from Peebles' perspective, they've almost been unlucky to an extent because of the season that they got promoted. You know, let's not forget they're the promoted team, and a promoted team, unless they're chucking all kinds of money around, are always going to struggle a bit in a division above. Now, if it had been one down, they would have been absolutely fine, but they've come up in that season where it's 3 down, and it's been great for us from an entertainment point of view. But if Peebles go down, then, you know, as much as anything, they've been a victim of circumstance as well, because they've certainly not left anything out there. And I think those players and coaches, they've done the club really proud this season to still be in with a chance in the last day of staying up, if we're being realistic about it. And of course, they don't want to go down, but I think, daft as some might think it sounds, to be in this position last day in a season where 3 go down as a promoted team, they've put in a pretty good fight.
You know, you have to look at their results as well, and how well they've done against, say, GHA. Home and away could easily have actually got the double over them, and then they beat Glasgow Accies, and then you look at the Dundee result where they lost. The only time Dundee have won this season. Yeah,
and sadly that could be the undoing. But it's what happens over the course of a season. That was balanced out by beating Glasgow Accies away, you know, well, let's be honest. So they've got a points difference of only minus 75, second bottom of the table. You know, Highland are minus 158, Gala are minus 101. So you're absolutely right, they've put up such a good fight against the top dogs who have put on cricket scores to some of the other teams. So yeah, hoping beyond hope that Peebles can stay up tomorrow. I fancy them to do pretty well, if unfortunately they don't next season when they try to come back out from the third tier again. I think they will if they unfortunately go down tomorrow.
Of course, talking of the points difference, minus 75 you mentioned there, which is actually 5 points better off than Boroughmuir, so that could come back tomorrow and in their favour.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, if they beat Highland and get 5 points and Boroughmuir lose, so yeah, Peebles need to win, get 5 points, and hope that Boroughmuir don't get more than 1 point, I think, if my maths are correct.
Yeah, but out of the 10 clubs in National 1, as you said, they've got the 4th best points difference tally.
Ridiculous statistic, that.
Now, Stirling County against Jed-Forest. Talking of academic, nothing to play for at all, the ultimate dead rubber match. Here's Jed coach Stuart Johnson.
Last game of the season this weekend, up to Stirling, and obviously based on Stirling's last result when they put 80 points on Highland, it's probably not going to be an easy task, but look, there's nothing at risk here for league. Stirling obviously can't win the league, we can't get relegated or win the league, so biggest thing here is boys just go out and enjoy themselves. Last game of the season, we want to get a result, we want to finish as high end up in the league as possible, but as I come back to it, I've said to the boys, and just go out and enjoy it. Let's have some fun, let's throw the ball about a bit, see where we get to, but by no means it's going to be easy up there. They're obviously put in some big results against teams, but a few changes to us. Rory Marshall fractured his cheekbone in our last game, so he's out, so it'll be a very young backline, 4 or 5, so 18, 19 year olds in there. Louis Reid, Aaron Weatherhead, Matthew Beaton, Matty Palmer, Lewis Elder, and then obviously you've got the experience of Robbie Shearer-Gibb and Lewis Young. Up front will be very similar though, not too many injuries. Gary Youngwish is out this week, he's injured, and so does Ryan Briggs, but just gives opportunities for our boys to come in the last game.
Well, he mentioned a young backline, but it's not a bad backline as well, because these youngsters have had a lot of experience this season, and there's some good players among them. I mean, Aaron Weatherhead in particular impressed me very much at number 10.
Oh yeah, couldn't agree more. Stuart, similar to Gala, you know, Jed have blooded some young guys this season, and that alone might suggest that you're going to get caught in the shake-up at the bottom, and they've never really been in and around it. And for that to be the case with these young guys, exact same as Gala, you know, good season for Jed for me, given where they came from last season. These young guys have got experience now. They'll get a bit more experience at Bridgehaw tomorrow. That is for sure. Whether it's the good kind or the bad kind, but is there a bad kind? You know, they come away from tomorrow, whatever happens, as better players, you know, given some of the players they're going to go up against. So the very definition of a free hit, brilliant way to approach it, as Stuart said there. Go out tomorrow, we're completely safe, throw the ball about, give it some air and see what happens, and we'll all have a few beers on the bus on the way home after it. And yeah, same as Gala, good season for Jed.
Well, that's National 1 done and dusted. On to National 2 then, and the results from last week. Gordonians 45, Preston Lodge 27. Gordonians promoted as the result of another match, which we'll come to in a second. Berwick 12, Falkirk 22, GHK 38, Stuart's Melville 36. That's what gave Gordonians promotion. Newton Stewart 45, Lasswade 19. A big win there for Newton Stewart. So we look at those results, and obviously Gordonians have come through and have done tremendous, only losing on the first day of the season to Preston Lodge. They could have been the Invincibles almost, but try bonuses in 12 of their 13 games. Preston Lodge, obviously, they wanted to get revenge on them. Preston Lodge, of course, deep in trouble in 8th position. Newton Stewart in 9th, and Newton Stewart, of course, with that game in hand, getting that result that they needed, and they can almost see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, from a Newton Stewart perspective, is the great escape on. That's a big win against fellow strugglers Lasswade, and they've got a glimmer of hope now. Stewart on 21 points with a couple of games in hand on Lasswade. Tomorrow they're at Preston Lodge as well, so yeah, it's game on. That's a huge game there tomorrow. But yeah, you mentioned Gordonians, all credit to them. A bit like GHA, you wouldn't have backed them to be top dogs at the start of the season. Mid-table team in this division last season, so that's a tremendous result, tremendous season, and good for rugby north of the Central Belt that they're going to be in the second tier as well, because Dundee are going to drop out and potentially the Highland as well. So it's a fair play to Gordonians. But yeah, similar, for the rest of this particular campaign in this division, like National 1, it's all about the bottom.
Of course, interestingly enough, GHK 2 weeks running have been involved in very close fixtures. You'll remember they came back against Kirkcaldy after being totally out of sight, got their heads in front, and then Kirkcaldy came back at the end and just pipped them. It was the other way round with Stuart's Melville. Stuart's Melville, of course, were in second position. GHK, big lead they built up. Stu Mel coming back, didn't quite get over the line. Lost by 2 points. That's what gave Gordonians promotion, but Stu Mel will be very disappointed with that.
Yeah, they will, but I think, like other teams in the division above them that we've spoken about, pretty decent campaign for Stu Mel. I think coming second in this division, again, I wouldn't have put money on that at the start of the season, Stuart. I'd have been all about the Falkirks and the Lasswades and even the Newton Stewarts, etc. So yeah, good campaign for Stu Mel, good campaign for GHK as well. One of those clubs that you just feel, again, through in Glasgow, salubrious part of Glasgow, potentially a bit of money sloshing around, which of course you're not allowed to spend at this level, but these kind of clubs could find themselves being upwardly mobile pretty quickly. If a few higher level players came in the door, and then all of a sudden you're going up through the leagues.
Gordonians the champions, 64 points. Stuart's Melville 52. GHK back up to third place again after that result, 40 points for them. Falkirk 39, Kirkcaldy 37, and then you've got the four at the bottom scrapping it out. Remember, 2 go down in this division, so it's Berwick on 27, Lasswade 27, Preston Lodge 22, and Newton Stewart 21. Now Berwick have played 13, Lasswade have played 14, Preston Lodge have played 13, and crucially Newton Stewart have played 12. So this weekend it's Falkirk against GHK, 4th against 3rd, nothing to play for now apart from pride. Kirkcaldy v Berwick, that turns out into a very interesting fixture, 5th against 6th, but 10 points difference. Kirkcaldy out of the woods, you would say. Berwick not out of the woods. 3 games to play for them. Here's the thoughts of Berwick head coach Paul Pringle.
So coming off the back of what was a really disappointing home defeat to Falkirk at the weekend, we're now looking forward to the away journey to Kirkcaldy. The match last week, just really frustrating. Kind of felt like we were going back to some of the problems that we had at the start of the season, real critical errors at key moments in the match, which had huge momentum swings. Trailing 5-0, going up the slope into the wind with 30 minutes on the clock. We give away a daft penalty under the Falkirk posts. They go up, we get a yellow card, and then suddenly we've conceded 2 tries, Turn at 19-0. We do start coming back into the match, with some good tries from Aidan Rosie, who's on real form at the moment, and just Ewan Thompson, who, has been fantastic all season. And then, we kind of just slipped back into errors, and, the game just got away from us. Moving on to this week, for me, we went back to the drawing board. Training was really good on Tuesday night. James Thompson, the assistant coach, brought in some good drills, and we've been really just kind of targeting key aspects of the game that we feel we need to focus on for the match against Kirkcaldy. 3 games left to go. Obviously the target is still we need to win those 3 games, but we've got real crunch ties against Preston Lodge at home and at Last Wade away. Yeah, you can see from the results, and even Newton Stewart picking up a win at the weekend against Last Wade just tightens everything up again. So there's a Preston Lodge Newton Stewart match this week, which will have a big bearing on that. But yeah, really we need to look after our own games and forget about the rest at the moment. So in terms of team selection, Jock Williamson's unfortunately unavailable this week, but Jordan Paterson returns to the front row. Ewan Thompson faces a late fitness test, so we're keen to get him available. In the back line, largely unchanged. Jordan Jackson does return to the bench, which is a great boost coming back from an ankle injury. Cam Wills will also come onto the bench, so it just gives us a big impact there. Really just looking forward to getting up there, getting this match, and hopefully just taking care of our own business rather than thinking elsewhere. And we'd like to get the win and then moving on to the Preston Lodge game in 2 weeks' time.
Plenty of rugby still left in National 2, and a big task for Berwick to get anything out of Kirkcaldy. Yeah,
I think so. Sure, it's going to be a tough assignment. It's another long trek that they have, and again, I think it's one of those games. If they can come away with anything tomorrow, then that's probably a pretty good outcome. They'll be hoping for more, of course. Don't get me wrong, but the big one to me looks like the PL game at home, which is coming down the track after the Kirkcaldy game. That could just about be the decider. But I guess much will depend on what happens between Preston Lodge and Newton Stewart tomorrow.
Yeah, that is 8th against 9th, 1 point apart. Newton Stewart with that game in hand. Last Wade, of course, sitting it out as it's a 9-team league, so that bottom of the table could look very different tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it could, and we'll know an awful lot more about who's going to play where next season come 5 o'clock tomorrow. But yeah, Berwick after tomorrow, they've got PL at home and Last Wade away. It could go down to the wire. But yeah, Newton Stewart, like I say, they've just given themselves a wee bit of a lifeline, and if they can win at PL tomorrow, then it's even more of a lifeline, and they're almost the form horse.
Stuart's Melville will play Gordonians at second against first, a game we were all looking forward to until last week when Stu Mel lost at GHK, and that handed the promotion to Gordonians. So it's all too late now, sadly, for Stu Mel, but I'm sure that's going to be an interesting match. Stu Mel will certainly want to be making a point.
Oh, I think so. They'll be looking to take a scalp and see where they are, and a victory against the league champions at this stage of the season is not going to do you any harm in terms of your confidence going into the next season, let alone the rest of this season. So yeah, nothing to play for really, but big game nonetheless there tomorrow.
Well, this is the Friday Rugby preview on Rugby Radio. Now we move on to the East League matters involving Borders teams. We start in East 1, where it's Langham away to Forrester. We can hear from Langham boss Craig Hislop.
It's back up the road to Edinburgh on Saturday after being up there a fortnight ago and recording a victory over Murrayfield Wanderers. Real good start for the lads, which just makes a change away from home. Command and lead. The second half we let slip a bit. They came back at us hard. We managed to clinch a bonus point try at the end, which was pleasing. Put us into second place. Forrester this weekend will be the same challenge. Another team at the bottom end of the table. We're fighting hard as there's 3 teams down there that can go down. We beat them 52 points to 18. We're back in October, so fairly confident we get the result. Squad wise, lacking a bit in the backs, but 13 forwards this weekend, so full strength pack and more. See what happens before we head back up to play Broughton in the last game of the season. So second place is the highest we can get this season. Very important we get a win this weekend.
Well, Broughton are way ahead at the top, as Craig mentioned, only need a win to be promoted to National League, and although Langham are second, they can't catch the league leaders. Only Haddington can do that, as they have 3 games to play, but Broughton would need to implode if Haddington are to go up. In East 2, Hawick Harlequins can still win the league, but Dunbar would have to lose both their 2 remaining games, and Quins would need 5 points in all their 5 to play. So an unlikely scenario, but they're at home to Dunbar Dunbar tomorrow will have to take all 5 points to make sure that they're still in the race. Dunbar, though, know that a win tomorrow will see them crowned champions of East League 2. We hear from Quins captain Liam Graeme.
Yeah, this week we welcomed down Pennycook after a couple of strong results for us, home and away. We had a week off last week and hoping this week we're going to come in with a full squad. No question about it, our toughest game of the season. Obviously we went up there our way and without really a team really got found out. We're going to have a full squad available, hopefully. Going to be able to really muster up a good squad to give them a really good challenge. Obviously, they've only lost one game this season, but we know we've been on a good run of form at the minute, really. Our last defeat was against them last year. Since then, we've came on leaps and bounds as a squad. We really can perform to the level we did against Royal High. First half especially, we know that we can give them a really good game. So we know this second place for us isn't wrapped up just yet. So a win this weekend could really go a long way in securing that. Need to start hopefully getting the games coming in more regular, and if we can get in a good run of form, hopefully come the end of the season we can end up in second place and wrap up a really strong campaign for us this season. But looking more into this week, we know it's a big weekend for the club. We've got a lot of things going on down at the club this weekend with our Ladies' Day going on. We know it's going to be a busy weekend for us all before we welcome up the Welsh the week after. So we know it's a big couple of weeks for the club, and we hopefully kick-start it with a win, hopefully.
So we could have Langham finishing second in East League 1, Quins top 2 in East League 2, but in East League 3, surely Earlston are going to be crowned champions tomorrow, a fortnight after winning the East Bowl. Cammy Hill is their head coach, and here's what's going through his mind ahead of their home match with Edinburgh Northern.
This weekend we welcome Edinburgh Northern to Hogg. After a good win a couple of weeks ago in the bowl final, we're going to turn our attentions to playing them in the league. A win of any sorts on Saturday secures us the league. That would be great to see. We know what Northern are going to bring. They were a really good side when we played them up there. We probably had the game of our season in the bowl final. We played outstanding. Every aspect we really clicked. So here's hoping if we can take the attitude and the performance that we had a few weeks ago into this weekend, we should be pretty well settled and hopefully get the win, get the league out of the way, and we can then turn our focus to the national semis. Squad wise, as you would imagine, we've got a full squad to pick from. Same again, it's a game that everybody wants to be involved in. Here's hoping we can get the win on Saturday and the East 3 title back to the Borders.
It's really great to see Earlston back from obscurity to be in touching distance of promotion to East League 2, but let's not forget Hawick and Edinburgh Northern could still get up to pinch the title. All three have 2 games to play, including tomorrow, and we're going to hear from Kieran Murphy now at Hawick on his team's game tomorrow at home to Duns.
This Saturday we welcome Duns to volunteer part for our final home league game of the season, and what will be a very tough game. 2 really good games against Duns this season, both very close. First game we never pulled away until about the last 10 minutes, and this time, the last time we scored right to death just to pull away and give us a result in the cup. So for 60-70 minutes of the games it's been very, very close, and we've fortunately just pulled away. So they've been in good form, had a good couple of wins recently, and obviously a couple of weeks of the games, so players will be a wee bit rusty. Our team, obviously we're on the back of a 97-14 win against Inverleith, but we can't really look at that too much. This is a completely different game. We've got a decent set of backs now and to go along with our forwards, so they're improving, they're a good side, and they're probably due a result, so we'll need to stick together and work hard to get over the line. In terms of our team, we have got a lot unavailable this week. I think I looked at everything and seen that it was maybe 11 thumbs down this week for the game, so injuries and people away and unavailable, it's just one of the hands it mounts up. But we've still got a squad and a couple of new boys coming in this week, so it'll be good to see how they get on, and the rest of the team will just need to stick in and hopefully we get over the line and kind of finish the season at home on a high.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Friday Rugby Preview. We're on air at 2:30 tomorrow with commentary on Selkirk v Currie in the Premiership with Robin Purdy and Scott Tomlinson in the commentary box. David Ferguson covering Kelso v Hawick for us. Hugh Brown is at Meggetland for the crucial Boroughmuir v Biggar match, which could seal the fate of Peebles. Plus, all the latest scores and results as they happen. Remember, you can listen to Rugby Radio at rugbyradio.co.uk, also from the homepage of bordersrugby.net, and our Twitter feed at Borders Scores. That will bring you the latest score updates. But for now, from Robin and myself, a very good night.
The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.